Hey guys, this video is going to be about President John Adams, his descendants being black today. So, we already done George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, but we took a break from John Adams because John Adams was told as the president that that never owned slaves, right? So, you know, and his son Quincy, right? They're saying that they never owned slaves, right? So and then they also depict a white man, right? But you gotta remember, Benjamin Franklin said in 1751, right? He said in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, or the Germans also. The Saxons only accepted who, with the English, make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. Alright, so what we're going to do, type swarthy, means person with dark, dusky, or tan in complexion. Swarthy, they show the white person, but when you, or a tan person, when you type animal, you get, they show dark, very dark animals, right? You type cow, show bull, right? So when you want to find something that matches, you just type dark skin there you go. Right, so and then right, yeah, so we just proved, right, and then I'll do one more. You have the French colonies around the world. You have French Guyana, right, in South America, right? You do search, you do people, go to images, it shows swarthy, dark-skinned people, right? Or wait, actually it shows. Yeah, it does, yeah. And then when you type Guadalupe people get mostly Negroes. And then when you type Haiti, of course we know Haiti get dark. So I'm saying that's one example, right? Yeah. So now let's get back to this part. So John Adams, right? If you ask, right, we're gonna use ChatGPT. Okay. Did President John Adams own slaves? Right, so they're saying he never owned slaves. Does President John Adams have descendants that own slaves? Okay, we're gonna go back to Google. But are there descendants of President John Adams that own slaves? So, President John Adams and his son President John Quincy Adams were among the few early founding families who never owned slave people. However, some of his descendants and extended family members did own slaves, right? The most notable example involves John Adams' uncle, the Rev. Joseph Adams, who resided in Newington, New Hampshire. He owned enslaved people and left them to his heir in his will. Right? So we're gonna go right. John Adams. Founding father, right? Second president of the United States. John Adams was born on October 30th, 1735, to John Adams Sr. in Susanna, Boylston. He had two younger brothers, Peter and Elihu. Right? So, he was born in Massachusetts, right? Now, he died 1801. Now, we're going to go to 1830, free Negro slave owners. Free Negro owners of slaves in the United States in 1830, together with absentee ownership of slaves in the United States in 1830, by Carter Godwin Woods. Right? Publication date 1924. Right? Contributor, University of Illinois Urbana, Champaign. Right? Alright? So, what we're going to do now, we're going to type Adams. Now, we're going to go to the first one. Well, actually, yeah. So we have District of Columbia, right? We have an Adams. And we're going to also look at his son, too. John Quincy Adams. He was born in 1767 and died 1848. And the census was 1830. So, we have an Adams in District of Columbia, W. Adams. So we're gonna do John Quincy Adams. If they can show me his siblings, I can. Or no, children. No, children. Okay, Thomas, Charles, Susanna, Elizabeth. Now we're going to do children. So you got George Washington Adams, Charles Francis Adams, John Adams, Louisiana Catherine Adams. We go back to the Negro slave owner, right? You got an Adams in Washington, right? Washington, D.C. You got another one in Virginia. Right. Got another one in Virginia, right? These are all Negro black slave owners. John Quincy Adams. No. John Adams, children. Okay. Alright. Yep. Then we got Daniel Adams in Virginia. Robert Adams in South Carolina. You got an estate of H.W. Williams in South Carolina. Right. Then we got Martin Adams in Tennessee. Catherine Adams. Now watch this. So, they're saying that a man named Joseph Adams owned slaves in New Hampshire, right? But they're saying there's some other descendants that probably own slaves, right? So remember, if you own slaves, you were rich. Obviously, John Adams was rich, right? And his son, John Quincy Adams, was rich, right? So he had a daughter named Louisa Catherine Adams, right? Well, actually, yeah. I don't understand. Yeah. So John Quincy Adams, Louisiana Catherine, right? So we're gonna type did own slaves. So remember, there is a woman named Catherine. That might not be her, but I'm saying there's a woman named Catherine E. Adams, a black woman slave owner in Virginia, named Catherine E. Adams. John Adams, Quincy Adams, the fifth president, has a daughter named Louisa Catherine Adams. You don't think this Adams is related to this Adams too, in Virginia? She was alive during. Okay, they don't say the year, but I'm just saying, like, you don't think she related? And then, so we'll do we're gonna go back to. We're gonna press it again. So John Adams' uncle, Joseph Adams, right? We don't see a Joseph there. Right, so now we'll do his son, Quincy. Right. Go back here. Where did President John Adams reside in? So in Massachusetts. Right? They say he lived in Pennsylvania too. Washington, D.C. We already found a Adams, Negro Adams in Washington, D.C. You don't think this person can be related? Remember, his son, John Quincy Adams, right, has a son named George Washington Adams. You don't think this W. Adams could refer to that? George W. Washington, right? And then we're gonna type own slaves. Said he didn't own slaves, but you still have a Adams name who lives in Washington. Remember that this is the same around the same year and time, right? So that Adams is most likely related to this Adams. And then we'll do Daniel. This is Virginia. Robert. This is in South Carolina. H.W. South Carolina. Martin in Tennessee. Catherine E. in Virginia. So even though these two, the second president of the United States, John Adams, and John Quincy did own, the AI did say that let me ask it again. Did John Adams have descendants? Well, no. Are there descendants of President John Adams that own slaves? Right? But they said their uncle. They just said it in the other one. Does President John Adams have descendants that own slaves? See? President John Adams and his son were two of the early presidents who never owned slaves. However, because the Adams family tree is vast and spans over 2 centuries, some later descendants did inevitably participate in own property through the family is largely remembered for its abolitionist legacy. Right? So, and then right, it's so simple. Watch this. So we're gonna do this one, right? Are there descendants of President John Adams that moved to District of Columbia? Yep. John Quincy Adams, sixth president, relocated to D.C. Henry Brooks Adams, right, went to D.C. Brooke Adams, and then there's a person named W. Adams. You know, I'm pretty sure if you can find a lineage of these people, you'll find a W Adams, right? Now we're going to go Silva. Are there descendants of President John Adams in Virginia? Yes, there are descendants of President John Adams live in Virginia today, right? So, and we found a black one, right? Well, maybe they found a black one because they were black. And then we're going to go to Harry. He's in Virginia. We're going to ask the AI a different way. We're going to do Daniel. Daniel's okay. Robert is in South Carolina. Are there descendants of President John Adams? Were there descendants of President John Adams who moved to South Carolina? Yes, branches of Adams family relocated to South Carolina, right? So, see all these Adams. It's way more. And then we're going to do Martin, Tennessee. Are there descendants of John Adams who moved to Tennessee in the 1800s? Okay, they're saying that they were unrelated, but they just said that Adams did have slaves, right? So, you know, and we already have the Negro slave owner in Tennessee, right? And then Catherine Adams, I'm pretty sure she's related because there's someone in their family line named that have Catherine in it too. So, yeah. John Quincy Adams. Right. Okay. So, yeah. We just kind of proved that the Adams, John Quincy Adams, and President John Adams, father and son, were most likely black. Because you have Adams branches in the areas that their lineages have moved. Right? And then the big one, whites were freed in 1865. Right? And then some were freed up to 1910. So what I'm saying is, right, before 1865, I would say before President Hoover. Before Hoover and before, most likely all the presidents were black. But yeah, we're out.